Well, our guest today has meant so much to Kentucky through the years. She was Kentucky's very first Miss America in 2000. She continues to be a tireless advocate for Kentucky's military veterans, a former commissioner of Kentucky's Department of Veteran Affairs, and the wife of our former Lieutenant Governor, Steve Henry. And now she is the host of a great Kentucky history television series, Kentucky Ancestors with the Kentucky Historical Society, that airs right here on ABC 36. Please welcome to the show, Heather French Henry.
It's so great to be with you. It's so great to be live.
I know, isn't
wow.
it? Instead of virtual,
nice.
It's nice being back when I went. Heather, congratulations on being the new host of the Kentucky Ancestors show.
This is such a great project to be a part of. I'm a history fan, of course, military history being ingrained in me since I was born. And, you know, my great-grandfather founded Augusta, Kentucky in 1796. And it wasn't till later in life that I really got into finding out more. I joined the DAR and then became a huge fan of the Kentucky Historical Society, of which, you know, was built when my husband was Lieutenant Governor.
That's right.
And so history has always been important to us, but as we get older, we tend to think about it a bit more. And so being able to help these families in these 5 episodes in season 2 has been really great and fun too. Each one of these stories is very unique and separate unto themselves.
It really is. It is a lot of fun. I was fortunate enough to come and watch one of the tapings too, and we had so much fun. So first of all, tell our viewers about what Kentucky Ancestors show really is about and what it offers to the viewership.
So the Kentucky Historical Society staff, they have such a genius genealogical staff, right, and a huge library for research. They were able to take 200 cases that were submitted to be reviewed, water it down to 5 cases, right, which are also individual, and really showcase some of the great pieces and nuggets that the Kentucky Historical has within its archives and with its genealogical reach. So one episode deals with waterway history, which those records are actually contained in Cincinnati, Ohio. And again, there's a lot of waterways that are in the Kentucky area and in our surrounding states. So people who want to research that sort of thing, you know, there'll be an episode where they'll get a chance to know a little bit more about that. Another episode has some interesting information about an enslaved family, which is a bit heartbreaking, but there's so few documents available for enslaved family history, but we were able to find some, and here in Kentucky they've done a great job of collecting what they can, and so we uncover some interesting stories. And then another episode actually has a multi-state sort of effect where it starts out in eastern Kentucky, but the gentleman who came down to do the episode for us was from Ohio, who had ties to this, and come to find out their family may have to do a little more research, because what the Kentucky Historical Society team found was that his ancestor was involved in maybe several other cases that this helped to document a connection to. So very eye-opening. It also is interesting when you think about family folklore, right? I'm sure stories get passed down in your family, like they get passed down in my family. We've got one about the first Kentucky Derby winner, the owner, and its connections to a Woodford County family. And so you find out a little bit through this process about what's fact and what's fiction. And I think sometimes there's always that aha moment.
Yes, and let's talk about that. For you, what was that aha or wow moment for you when you were hosting the show?
What's really interesting, so of course you film these things a little bit out of order, but the first 2 guests that came in, one, there's a story from Mason County, Bracken County area, a family that I had grown up with, so that was really great to be able to see that. And then one of our other guests found out that, well, I am actually her cousin by marriage on Stephen's side, but it's just, you know, you just never know. It's not 6 degrees of separation anymore.
It really isn't.
Here, especially here in Kentucky, it's like 1 or 2 degrees of separation. So for me, it was the connection to the guests that came on. And like you, love to do, you know, live television, love having a live studio audience aspect of that. And so it's really neat that you're able to be a part of something that grows a family's history, that sometimes helps set the record straight, but also sometimes helps to edify what they've already known and help them to do research even further. And it also piqued my interest too, because part of my family line on the French side sort of stops at a certain point and you go, you know, I really need to do a better job about my genealogical history. You know, it's easy sometimes when you know, if you're on all those sites and you get all the green leaves and people that connect, but sometimes not all that information is correct. So having the experts at KHS has been really a brilliant eye-opener to see what we can actually help people do.
And it's available to everyone and anyone out there. That's so important for people to know when they are doing their own research too on their families. What would you say as far as the importance of this show to our fellow Kentuckians out there? Why is it so important?
Well, you know, Kentucky is such a rich historical state, right? And people in Kentucky usually love their history once they find out about their history. And I think it's even more important to pass it to your younger generations. You know, we've tried to spread that news to our daughters, and so hopefully at a younger age they become more aware of their family history, certainly, and sometimes you're surprised at what's in there, sometimes you're surprised at what's not in there, right? So they too will help to build those stories, because it really helps to formulate who you are today. And although each person can always take their own path, I think it's very important to know your history. And so for whether young and old alike, you know, the Kentucky Historical Society and Center is not just static displays. This is really living history. This is something that you can gather to pass down to future generations in your family. I think that's really important so that it doesn't get lost. We now have the ability, right, to keep it all together, even more so digitally, whereas years ago it was all paper and, you know, trying to read handwriting, and we have more resources now than ever before.
We really do. And this is a statewide show too. So it's completely across the entire state of Kentucky. How do people find out if they're not living in this area here for our viewership? Where can they find out where they can watch it in their areas?
Well, of course, we think that the Channel 36 area is right, you know, one of the best, certainly, and airs tomorrow night, the first episode at 7:30, which is going to be really great on Easter weekend. But you can always go to history.ky.gov and go to the Ancestors TV page, and it's got all the listings throughout the state and the different episodes. So throughout the state, it will be airing once a month in that particular area at their particular time on those stations. So we have 5 episodes coming up, and you know, that's just one of many projects that the Kentucky Historical Society has. We've got several great projects coming up this summer in partnership with the Kentucky Honor Flight here in Lexington. First all-female flight to go out of the state of Kentucky, which is awesome, to recognize our sheroes. And we actually have a women veterans exhibit that I've been helping with an advisory board at KHS, which is going to be unveiled sometime this summer as well, which is one of the largest women veterans historical exhibits that I've ever seen. So it's going to be really magnificent.
So exciting. I am going to have you back to tell us all about that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Yeah, I'd love it anytime.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, and thanks so much for all that you do.
Sure. And we'll be back right after this. There's more News at Noon coming up.